Yeah.
We were talking just prior to getting on air. We were talking, and I mean, you just mentioned that he's going to be in this kind of asshole character. So like, he's great in Wall Street, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
He's an Academy Award winner for that movie. This kind of, he starts off kind of Wall Street, and then he kind of turns into Fatal Attraction through this movie.
Yeah.
Where he just kind of gets like more frenzied and frantic, like he does in Fatal Attraction, as Glenn Close is stalking him and making his life miserable. I think he's fantastic in Black Rain, which is another Ridley Scott movie that I think is really underrated. And Michael Douglas is great in that movie. But I think that this is one of his best performances, in my opinion.
No, I 100% agree with you, man. He's phenomenal in this.
He works well with Fincher. So do you know what the big story about this movie is?
There were some issues that led to them being sued, right? The production?
Yes.
Jodie Foster was signed on to star in the film, right?
Yes.
And
yes, she was supposed to star in the film as Douglas's sister. I think Fincher and Douglas were kind of worried that because the part, it's his sister. The final film, it's his brother. It's Sean Penn's role. But if watching the movie, Sean Penn isn't in it all that much. He doesn't have much screen time.
Nope.
And I think because she was already, I believe, a 2-time Academy Award winner. Yeah, at that time for Silence of the Lambs and The Accused back in, I think, the late 80s is that movie. She was already a 2-time Academy Award winner, and they were kind of worried that putting her in this very supporting role would kind of be a disservice to her. So they were talking about expanding her role. And then I think they thought maybe they should change it to Douglas's daughter, even though they're less than 20 years apart. And I think that the daughter thing was a little too much, so they wanted to keep it as the sister. And then they were still trying to figure that out, and she didn't have a whole lot of time because she was about to start filming Contact for Robert Zemeckis. So she didn't have a whole lot of time, and they were still trying to figure things out. So they ended up moving ahead without her, changing the role to the brother. And then she ended up suing Polygram, not Fincher and not Douglas, but Polygram, who was the studio, because apparently she had a verbal agreement with the studio to star in the movie, or to be a co-star in the movie. And ended up suing Polygram for some crazy amount, like $50 plus million. 54, here I go. I got it in my notes, 54. I think her production company was apparently supposed to produce it. I don't think that it did eventually, though, because I looked for her name in the credits when I watched it now, and I didn't see it. But it sued Polygram for $54 million. The matter gets settled out of court. And then, obviously, there's no bad blood between her and Fincher because she replaces Nicole Kidman about 4 or 5 years later in Panic Room, because Nicole Kidman was injured, or had an injury from Moulin Rouge, which is the movie that she made just prior to doing Panic Room. So because she was too injured to do the film, Jodie Foster steps in and does that role. So eventually things got sorted out, things got worked out, and Fincher and Jodie Foster did work together. And Panic Room is fantastic too. I think Panic Room is another very underrated Fincher film. Yes.
It's not talked about nearly enough.
And going back to what you guys covered last week, it's very much an Alfred Hitchcock type movie. Where it's good suspense, but it's also a very claustrophobic movie.
Yes.
Where it all takes place in, this single home over the course of one night. So go watch Panic Room if you haven't seen Panic Room. I was just watching it the other day.
It's got another one with a great cast.
Yeah, you know who's really fucking good in Panic Room? It's Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
He's really good. So that's the big behind the scenes story with the movie is Jodie Foster was supposed to be in it, was supposed to be Michael Douglas's sibling. Things couldn't be worked out, and that part got changed to the brother, which went to Sean Penn eventually, although I think they asked Jeff Bridges
and
to do it.
He declined, yep.
He declined, and then Sean Penn did it. Honestly, like, with the couple of scenes that Penn has in the movie, that worked out really good, because Sean Penn's really good at playing that kind of really panicky, terrorized scene with Douglas later on, about halfway through the film. And I'm not sure if Bridges could have done that, because Bridges always seems kind of laid back.
That's the thing with this one, is that I'm always kind of let down that Sean doesn't get enough, like, more screen time.
Yeah.
Because he's so great when he is on screen, but it's just unfortunately not very much. But then at the same time, I think that was on purpose, so that you don't kind of catch on.
Yeah.
To what the film's actually trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree with that. He plays it very well, and you could tell that there's this kind of underlying resentment and bitterness between the two.
Yes.
And that, as you mentioned in your write-up, it's their father committed suicide when he was 48, and basically Nick Van Orton had to be the parent to Conrad, who's Sean Penn's character. And I think that there's that kind of mutual resentment where the big brother is taking over the parental role, and the younger brother doesn't like that. And at the same time, the older brother kind of resents the fact that he has to be the parent all of a sudden, and can't really enjoy and live his life, because now he has to take care of someone. And I don't know exactly what the age difference was supposed to be between the two, but that very much is what it feels like, is that Nick had to be the parent to Conrad, probably had to deal with Conrad when he was a teenager, preteen, all that, and there's that resentment between the two of them. Yeah,
because Conrad seems like he was like the kind of black sheep, child. Yes. And he even, like, within the first few minutes of meeting his character, he like jokes about like hard drug use and all this kind of stuff that, red flags, I guess, that are supposed to let you know that he's like the younger brother, and that's why they're kind of estranged, and then Conrad's popping up on his birthday out of the blue to give him this new opportunity.
Yeah, and it's I forget what the time span is, but it's definitely been a few years since they've seen each other. And yeah, he shows up, he makes a joke about, the restaurant, it's familiar to him. And then it's like, oh yeah, I used to buy crystal meth off of the, the maitre d', or one of the waiters or something. But then he gives him this random card and says, I don't know what to get you because you have everything, because you're just, this wealthy banker. But here's this. These people make your life fun. And apparently he has done it already. I think they said London. He he participated in this game in London, and he sets up Nick with it. And then what I really liked, I laughed at, was Nick goes in eventually. You know, he's in the same building with. He's taking care of, you know, some business stuff, and as he's walking out the lobby, he sees the advertisement for CRS, the Consumer Recreation Services, and he goes in, talks to I forget the guy's name, but it's James Rebhorn is the actor, who is sadly deceased now, unfortunately, but it was a great character actor. Feingold, yeah.
Feingold
is the name. But was that his real name? Because well, I won't want to spoil it just yet, but later on he's revealed to be somebody else.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I know IMDb lists him as Jim Feingold. But he tells him all about it, sets him up with everything, says, oh yeah, you know, fill out a couple of quick forms, you'll be out of here in no time. And then it's like clearly hours are passing as they have Nick like filling out all these forms, taking all these tests, doing the psychological evaluation, doing the physical, watching the weird like propaganda film like it's A Clockwork Orange or the Parallax View, where it's just got like the random images and the text on screen. So like be out of there in no time clearly turns into he spent the entire day there doing this. And then after all of this, they call him back while he's in the middle of a meeting and say, oh, we're sorry, but your application, or, you know, you were rejected for the game. And then he gets like pretty upset. Like, why did they reject him? But when he calls Conrad on the phone on the drive home, he says, yeah, I don't think I can do this. I don't have enough time. He's too prideful to really say they rejected me. So he makes up an excuse saying that he just doesn't have time to do it, which I thought was really funny. I guess that fits his character too. He was too prideful to just tell the truth. But even though they rejected him, they didn't really. It was just another trick that they played to just put him on edge, and then he's not really expecting anything. And then, you know, things kind of start out small. He has the creepy clown. What are your thoughts on the clown?
Oh, I loved it. I feel like it's a great it's a great mass. I feel like the kind of symbolism behind the whole film.
Yeah,
is the clown, you know, and that's where everything starts to go down for Nick when he has and it's not just like a little miniature clown, it's a full body sized clown.
Yeah, and which is in the driveway, positioned like his father after he committed suicide. It's you know, face down in the driveway because his father jumps off the roof of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Which you see in sort of flashback, but also the flashbacks are all shot with like that
8mm
camera, you know, so everything's grainy and kind of scratched and obviously older. So it's positioned like that, and then he takes it in the house, and then that's when things start to begin for him. You know, he's watching the TV, and there's the guy giving the financial news, and then he starts peppering in like phrases and words, like specifically calling out Nick, and he doesn't really notice it at first. But then that's kind of how everything begins, and from there it snowballs, man. It just gets crazier and crazier.